What's going on, everybody? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. Boom, boom. That's right, Monk. Glad to be here, everyone. Looking forward. Hope my comments move below the video. Everyone, what we got Bitcoin trading at what? It's heading towards heats. It's heading to, excuse me, let me get going over here. It's heading towards heats. 13,830 next level over here after breaking out of this this consolidation over here. Let's rewind and start this over, everyone. What's going on? Ready to get going over here this morning. We're going to take a look around, see what's going on. We're going to find our flow and get in. Dollar, right? Up and down this morning. Let's find it. This, by the way, we have the time zones here. We set our clocks back on Sunday, back an hour. We're 2 hours now outside of the New York. Throw me off a little bit, but here we go. November 1st, we catch up to the rest of the world as the states move back their clocks. Is it turnaround Tuesday? That's the question, right? I don't know. All I know is I'm going to take a look at some charts, find my flow, see what's going on, talk about gold here. It looks like it's trying to gain some traction. It traded up overnight, then rejected back into this morning. New York still holding the line over here. Bitcoin being Bitcoin. We got to love that. We are days away, 5 more trading days to the election, right? We got to factor all of that in. I mean, if you guys have any type of remotely the same type of sentiment as me, we just can't wait to put this behind us and start moving forward, right? Hopefully together as a country. Let's find out what's going on. Let's start over here. I'm going to do some trend line work over here this morning on the S&P 500 as we get going over here. We're going to take our time with it. This morning, I want to talk about the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. I want to talk about support after it breaks and how support is generally the bottom of the price, the price base. And then after it breaks, how resistance can move up towards the top. We're going to look at that together. That's something that you're going to want to put into your toolbox. Yeah, James, I'm with you on that. I cannot wait for it to just be behind us. As everyone in the whole world, we cannot wait for all of this cerveza to be behind us sooner than later, hopefully. I like to think, by the way, like when things are not going so well, 2020, that, just have that mind frame, that insight, that sooner than later, this is like the this is like the bottom here, and sooner or later things are going to turn around, and you're going to be riding that wave upwards. And I also have that same perspective when everything seems to be going just absolutely fantastic and perfect, to try to remain just as detached, knowing it won't always be like that. That life is ups and downs, and that kind of helps in my trading as well. I don't get emotional on the upside. And on the downside, I have that same perspective. Right? Sip that matcha, get going over here. I don't know what Biden will do. I don't know what Trump will do. I have no idea. I'm going to look at the markets and see what the markets are doing. We're going to base everything off of that. As we get started here on the S&P 500 this morning, what I want to do is I'm going to just take this trend line. I'm not going to put it in. I'm just going to take this trend line over here, right? And I want you to focus on a couple of things. Right, my eyes were this morning, right, were drawn to this body over here where we closed, right, and then riding that resistance there. I want you to just see this. I'm not going to leave it here right now, but I just want you to see. Do you see that? That was a perfect touch over there, right? So in my own time, not with you, I'm going to extend that further, right? What I do when I get this far away, by the way, I just clone this, right, and then so I could keep the same structure of the line. I just look to do that, right? Instead of trying to extend the line and then like maybe you move it. Why I want to do that is look how important that support is going to be down over there if we test over to there. Also, at the same time, right, not just that, do you think it's also appropriate for us to go ahead and put that line back? Do you think it's also appropriate for us to be looking down over here? Look at over here, that support, that resistance, that support, right? I want to know if we start breaking down, what type of support I'm leaning into. Because at the end of the day, I don't really care what the economy is doing. I'm looking what the central banks are doing. If like, for example, we run into a situation where Biden's president and the Republicans hold the Senate, and then maybe we're not going to see any stimulus coming from the GOV, from the government, well, the Fed is going to take action. Right? It's coming either way. I'm not worried about that, right? I'm bullish into 2021 on stocks. We have to get through this next period. I don't know how long it's going to last, but soon enough, anything that happens in the near term, in my opinion, is going to be a buying opportunity. And that's that. So right here, and the reason I was explaining that is because I would like in my own time to go ahead and tighten those up. I think they'll provide they'll prove to be very useful for me. All right. So what's going on? Nothing. We're still where in this channel. in this, I don't know, looks like a bull flag, looks like a downward sloping channel, right? And that's that. So listen, five more trading days to the election. The only thing that I want to caution against, the only thing that there you go. Didn't I add that one or no? Hold on one second. I feel like I just lost the trend line also. I'll add it back. 1 second. So, by the way, do you see that touch? Nah, I'm not going to leave that there right now. Anyway, I don't even know what I said. I don't even know what I said. Or yeah, 8 more weeks. It could be. I hope not. I hope not for the world and for the country, right? USA is known for a smooth transition of power. Let's see if that holds or not. I have no idea. All right, Nasdaq. Let's take a look. Right, nothing going on the S&P 500. Oh yeah, 5 more days. The only thing I want to caution against, if we get a technical break out up to the upside, it's something that I'll be looking to participate in, because when you get really big risk events, sometimes the market makes the move before the event itself. I'll be watching, waiting, and look through it with you. Yeah, everyone is long gold. We'll look at gold when we get to gold. First, we got to look at the Nasdaq over here. What do I see? Right, we were looking yesterday, right, with Dr. Jennifer. It looked like we had this resumption here yesterday during the live stream up on the Nasdaq, and then it was Kudlow who came out and said, like, listen, we're really far away from any type of deal here. We're really far apart. The markets just got trounced, right, up until Nancy said, "Oh, I'm still hopeful." So who knows what's going on? So what do you see over here, though? I see right now clearly, though, I see a retest into that trend line, that support, right? That right now is holding as resistance. It's nothing. There's no play here whatsoever. Stay away. And even though that was a fake breakout over here, let me get that back in. We're still in this downward sloping channel, right? Like that. So just stay away right now until things become clear in the equity markets. Nevertheless, I want to keep looking at them. This is the Dow, and it just looks ugly, but better than yesterday. If this is able to base out over here, and consolidate above the support, and it's pretty good support. It's pretty good support that could wind up helping it firm up, but nothing going on over there. And let's check out the Russell just really quick. Russell could be the leader on the upside if it's able to break outside of that trend line over there and get above that resistance, right? So we'll be watching and waiting. But right now, neutral, 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 neutral. Wait, watch. 5 more days till huge risk event, and that's that. All right. Pretty ugly. Let's take a look over here at the DXY. A lot of volatility I'm seeing this morning. I want to look at just a 1 hour chart, 30-minute chart over here just to see. So, right, I'm just looking at all that volatility, but I'm looking at the daily session low right now. All right, so not much else to say anyway. Everyone on this channel is keenly aware that a couple of things are happening. First of all, we're sideways, right? And how long? It was right here when I said we're going into consolidation, right? It was right here where I looked for a possible breakout to the upside. And then I also, right here back into 94, got back again sideways. We're sideways with a downward bearish bias. And that continues until we break out of here. This trend line to the upside is what we're watching for a breakout for dollar strength. We have a bearish bias. But we're watching that trend line. We're always watching our risk, always watching the other side of our trade. All right? Nevertheless, there is no trade. I've been avoiding dollar pairs now ever since the first week of August. After riding them and Japanese yen pair all of July into the first week of August. And if we get a breakdown over here, then that could send us to a next leg down. All right. What about what's going on in gold? Gold is, by the way, right? I'm still looking at Friday's entry. There was another entry on Monday, right? We're sideways. Do you see how we're sideways since the entries? Nevertheless, that's healthy. I mean, that's healthy in the fact that you look, the more you consolidate, the bigger the move up. Look, on technical reason why I took it was the break of that trend line. The trade is still in play. Stop loss, where are you wrong on the trade? For me, it's below this trend line. It's below this area of support over here, and always giving it a little bit of room. In my opinion, if price hits over here at 1863, I'm simply wrong on the trade, right? Risk to reward going into 1976 is by far greater than a 1-to-1. It's 1.5 to 1. More or less. And if we start making that approach, I'm looking at not only that breaking, but us going towards new all-time highs. So hold the line. Don't get talked out of your trade. That's been on gold. That's really been the focus I've been trying to just kind of relay to you all, is that you do your analysis. You don't ever enter a trade without knowing why you're doing it, and not only and setting up that trade. Like, you're watching what is happening before it triggers and happens. And then you have your original analysis. You have to stick to it. Don't get talked out of your own trade. Again, silver is simply this. We're consolidating still, right? And we're getting closer. We're going to get a breakout soon. Whether it's to the upside or downside, we'll soon see. We're going to get a breakout soon. Obviously, all know where I think that's going. Bitcoin over here, we've broken out of this consolidation here to the upside. By the way, Brandon, yesterday, as price was coming down over here, this was a big fat red candle. Brandon was like, nope, this is going to wick to the upside. He absolutely nailed it. Let's just step back here on Bitcoin. A lot of people, I noticed a couple of things. I noticed a few different things about Bitcoin. I noticed a lot of people now are like, want to FOMO into Bitcoin. And that's not a bad thing. Why do I say it's not a bad thing? I think 13,500 Bitcoin's cheap. Now, when I was saying that at 11,500, I said at 11,500, I said, to me, I don't care if it's 11,500. I don't care if it's 10,500. I don't care if it's 12,500 or 9,500. To me, that's all cheap Bitcoin, because I'm looking for a target of 6 figures on Bitcoin. So I don't really care. And to be honest, just so everyone understands, anything under 20,000, in my opinion, is still worthy of accumulation. You still have a potential 5, 6, 7x easy. Not easy. Nothing's easy, but that's the target I'm looking for over there. You can see over here. So better FOMO now than at 18,000, right? That's my opinion. Bitcoin continues to look uber healthy ever since we had, just line it up. This was the bull market breakout, right? That trend line was the bull market breakout. By the way, how do you take profits on the upside? I got I got what I perceive to be the best way to take profits on the upside on Bitcoin during the bull market phase. That will be shared with you when I do how to trade the bull market. And you all know 14,000 is like my price level for when I need to get that out to you. So don't worry, so what else was I saying over here? Right now, right now you could see this trend line over here was the start of the bull market technically, okay? So you have breakout, right? Retest, boom, resumption, and then look, you made the higher swing high. I mean, this is as bullish as you can get over here. I've seen like traditional news outlets also taking notice, and just they're like, there's no way you cannot. Macro Voices is a really fun podcast to listen to every once in a while. Those guys are as traditional finance as you get, I guess, in my opinion. So over here, right, this is what Heath's targeting next. The reason Heath's targeting that line over there, why is that marked as support? That should be resistance, is because that is the June 2019 high over here, 13,830. Once we get above that, and just, also that trend line over there, so it's not just the high, it's because you could always get those spikes. But once you clear over here, at that point, it's really off to the races, or it could be off to the races, right? So just also rewind. The last thing I want to say. So you know, the CME gap, I don't think will ever be closed now. So, you know, a couple of things, right? I always said, what am I doing? CME. I always looked at the possibility of it getting closed. What could happen? How it could happen? This is the gap over here, 9,600, right? And remember when I had my blue box on Bitcoin, and I said if we break down below it, right, then we're gonna close the gap. And then I looked at price levels below. But I always said, and I always held firm that I don't think that we'll ever close it, right? That was just always my gut. Now that we've took out this swing high over here, well, now I don't think it ever gets closed. And never say never. Oil went negative this year in 2020. If we have any type of liquidity event, then that CME gap could get closed, of course. And by the way, always just kind of expecting a 30% drawdown from wherever you are, which puts us right now, you know, definitely closing that gap. You know, that trend line now is looking a lot more solid. This base over here. By the way, if we never had a liquidity crisis, I don't think that we ever broke this trend line over here. This was a liquidity crisis. This was an anomaly on Bitcoin, in my opinion. Well, it was a huge anomaly. We had a crisis that took $4.1 trillion expansion of the Fed's balance sheet to address, right? So that was a huge anomaly. If that never happened, I don't think we ever broke down over there. So this trend line going up right now, you know, that's about 30% off of where we are right now. That's probably, I feel much more comfortable about that now. And still, though, I mean, it's still possible we came into that support. There's a lot of supply over there at 8,800. So it's possible that we close the CME gap, but unlikely, in my opinion. Now, once we take out the June 2019 high, right? That over here, I'm calling this the Heath line. Once we take out the Heath line over here, at that point, then, you know, I don't think that we're closing the CME gap. So that's the trajectory we're on. And you know what? It's really nice. You know, we put a lot of work in for a lot. If you go back on the channel, you see the care I took to get everyone really aware of the 4-year cycle on Bitcoin and everyone positioned in, right? Even during the hard part over here, this is when we really went to work. And it's really nice. This is going to be, you know, the next the next 11 to 13 months should be really fun. You know, there's nothing wrong after putting in some hard work to enjoy that phase. And we're going to get to do that a lot together. So I really look forward to that, you know? So that's nice. Ethereum, I talked about last night being, the Ethereum I talked about last night. Thank you, Style. So, I'm sorry, I can't for the pronunciation. Thank you, brother. We talked about this last night in yesterday's afternoon update. I thought this was the best setup. I wasn't even looking for it. I always know it's a good setup when I'm not looking for it, and then it's very clear. So just make a mental note of that yourself. If you're trying to force something, right, and it's not clear, then just stay away from it. That's like a really good rule to protect yourself. If you're not sure, when you notice hesitation in my own cadence of my voice, that's a signal right away to me that I know that I'm not clear, and then I just move on. But this was clear. I wasn't looking for it last night, you know, in yesterday's video. And look, yeah, lagging now. Bitcoin always leads to the upside. Gold leads to the upside. Then silver catapults. So, you know, gold leads and then silver catapults. Same thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's leading right now, but Ethereum, and notice I always say for the next 6 months, I don't know what Ethereum's future is. I think it's highly speculative. So, you know, of note, but I still think in the foreseeable future, Ethereum will continue to outperform. So yeah, right now Bitcoin's leading and Ethereum will play catch up. So, but it was a beautiful trade. Why was it a beautiful trade? Like, you had this clear channel. That's the support of the channel. You had that horizontal support over there. the move back into it, I mean, conquering the markets all day long. So that's nice. Chainlink, I see this morning, is now up 4%. Chainlink was not as clear for me, right? I said that in yesterday's update. I did note that this was definitely support that it touched into, right? But again, it just wasn't as clear. Chainlink gets outside of this resistance over here, $12.93, 90 cents, 92 cents, and then above this, and then I think it's going to start running. No, I don't think so. I think that's normal behavior. I think that Bitcoin does the hard work to the upside, and then you'll see the alts play catch up. We saw that hugely over here, right? Anyway, I don't think it's a concern whatsoever at all. No, I didn't see that. Broken support on the S&P. Today we got the retest, which acted as resistance. Oh, I did notice that on the right there. I see what you're saying. Let me draw it in. I noticed that on the Nasdaq though. Right? Breakdown, retest. You haven't got a resumption yet down, but you have the breakdown and then the retest into that resistance. Haven't got the resumption down. It's also happening. I saw it on the Nasdaq. Breakdown, retest into that, and it's light on both, but resistance as well. Nice observation. Is it normal to have zero pullbacks in these days? Let me also, just while we're talking about Bitcoin, continue here. Like the pullbacks that I'm looking for in Bitcoin, and there's different theories out there, but I'm looking for 30% pullbacks. Is it possible? Look, if we talk about the cycles, in my opinion, this cycle is going to be shorter than the last one. All right. I did a tweet about that over the weekend. Reason being, if you go back from the cycle low from the past 2 cycles and then take that distance to the halving, and then less 2%, that's been the cycle peak for the last 2. That puts this cycle peak at approximately September 21st. It's not a lengthening cycle, right? It's actually going to be a shorter cycle, in my opinion, right? What else? Oh, so is it possible that we don't have 30% pullbacks? Well, I don't think so. I think we'll have 30% pullbacks. If I learn during this cycle that we don't have 30% pullbacks, then that will transform my thinking into the next bear market, that maybe we won't see an 80-85% drawdown. Maybe we'll see a little bit less. Okay? Only if, listen to this. This is probably some of the most important thought conversation on Bitcoin. If in this cycle we don't have 30% pullbacks, which is not my base case at all, then that will change how I approach the next coming bear market, where I'll be looking for a less of a drawdown. Instead of 80-85%, I would be looking for a less. All right. But right now I'm looking for 30% pullbacks. Not only that, I'm not looking for that first 30% pullback, right? Until we clear this area, right? And until we approach like around $16,000. That would be what, that's why I've been saying that I'm not worried about getting you the video out on how to best trade the Bitcoin bull market until we take out $14,000. Because I'm not looking for that pullback yet, right? And I don't think it's going to come at 14. 16,000 is really when I'll begin looking for it. All right. So I'm not looking for those pullbacks yet. Right. And, I was asked a lot, go back right over here when we were in that blue box over here on Bitcoin, right? Over here, people were like, are you still sticking to your target for 2020 on Bitcoin? And I was very confident and clear about I was. That doesn't seem so crazy anymore now, does it? We're not far off at all. We still got November and December ahead of us. The cycle's shortening in the site here. Boom, boom, boom. I guess there's too many tweets over here. I don't know. again, I just went over to you why the cycle is shortening though, and I talked about if you take the low of the previous cycle, count how many days to the halving in the first and second cycle, it was that number of days less 2%. That puts this cycle less than the last cycle, and it puts us peaking somewhere around September 21st. What else? TJ. Yes. I mean, that's what I was getting at. I'm looking for 30% pullbacks in this cycle. If I see that we don't get 30% pullback, is it possible we only get 20% pullbacks? Anything's possible. It's the markets. That's not my base case. My base case is that we will see 30% pullbacks, which when you're talking about the massive volatility we're seeing on the upside, a 30% pullback is really not that much. But if the market shows us different, and that because of whether it's increased adoption, increased demand from institutions, and not only institutions, but public companies, right? If we start seeing all of that and we're seeing less of pullbacks, I won't know that during the bull market, but I will know after the bull market. I will say to myself, all right, 1 + 1 = 2. That means in the bear market, we're not going to see that expected drawdown. We're looking for less of a drawdown, and I will still use the golden indicator, right? 15 months to the next halving is the dark green, dot. That's where that's going to be the low ish, and that's where we'll start accumulating back in. I prefer BlockFi by a long shot over Coinbase. Coinbase is the Facebook of crypto. No. I mean, go look at a chart of Amazon, and then you will no longer have that theory. That's not true at all. It's called the runaway gap. It's technical analysis, runaway gap. When you don't close gaps, you actually have bigger moves than when you close them. Yeah, let's get into FX a little bit. Let's get into FX right now. I don't know. I do not know who is the first to discuss or talk about the math involved, because it is math. It's Bitcoin. I don't know who Crypto is, to be honest. But I saw Raoul Pal comment on a thread where he's like, "Wow," and then I did the math, and there were multiple threads. I don't know who is the first, but again, I look at everyone's thoughts and analysis, right? Always, and that's how that's where I'm leaning 100%, because it happened in the past 2 cycles. There's no reason for me to believe that it won't happen in the third. I'm not a believer in the lengthening cycle whatsoever. I do believe after however many more halvings that we will come to a point where Bitcoin has matured, not until Bitcoin overtakes the market cap of gold. And then at that point, I think we'll start seeing a lot less of moves to the upside and then to the downside. But Bitcoin is an infant. It's an infant. It's not even crawling yet. It's really, really immature. It's, what is it, $250 billion market cap? No. It's got its eye on first overtaking the market cap of gold, right? And then taking a larger piece of the global money supply. So let's get into some more charts over here. Let's look at what's going on this morning on FX and see what's going on. I want to talk about the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Someone was looking for the euro, Australian dollar, and then also the pound, Japanese yen. So we'll look at those things in that order. I don't know, missing out on BTC Gelson. I don't know what Gelson is, Danny B. Send me a link or something like that. I'm not sure, but here we go. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Thoughts on oil really quick is just, stay away. That's completely sideways. And by the way, it's been since June. that I've said stay away from oil. Since early June, I've said stay away from oil, and it has not gone anywhere. So this is not where you want to put your money, you know, because that's not where you want to put your money. That's my thoughts on oil. Thanks, Denny. So Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, by the way, I want to talk about this morning. I want to talk about just pointing out a couple of things. The first thing, as I said earlier, if you are not sure about something, then that's not for you. You are looking to enter trades that are clear to you. That's a very important indication. Okay? So let me keep going over here. So what I want you to focus in on is over here. This was clear support where I have this resistance line over here at 0.939. Again, this is relevant not only for this pair right now, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. This is for all of your technical analysis, quiver, right? Bunch of arrows that you have over here. People are looking for like, what book could I read? Well, focus on this. This is clear support here before it broke, right? Clear level of support, right? Go back. That was all resistance. That's why I had the line in over there. And, that's where that line belonged as support. Now, I want you to pay attention because support is always, by the way, at the bottom of where the market's coming down to. That's where the support is, right? So it broke, right? And then that was retested, resumption down, conquering the markets all day long. Should trading be exciting or should trading be boring? So now what happened over here? Look what the market did when it came up to there. Okay. I see one touch up there. I see another touch up there. So what's that saying to me? Well, that's what the market's paying attention to, right? I always talk about TA is not a science. It's an art. Now here's the art. Now I want you to focus on over here. Like you could say this morning, today, or last night, you could say, yeah, well, I see the market's paying attention right over there, right? So go ahead and put your mouse and look to the left. Put your mouse across. And then what do I see if I look to the left, right? So I see clearly, well, all right, well, that was support and those peaks were into resistance. So I could say, well, that's also, I could see why the market's paying attention there. My clue was these peaks. It's not like I just magically knew beforehand. I saw the market over, paying attention over here. So I look back over there. So here's the thing, is that on the downside, the market support is, right, towards the bottom of those things. On the upside, resistance becomes what? The top side. Resistance is always on the top side of candles. And by the way, for example, right here, right where I have this resistance right over here, because again, that was a support that broke. See where I have that resistance right over here? And I see like, okay, that's why I had it. I see that resistance market a little bit touching over here and over here. But on the way back up, most likely the market's not going to be paying attention over there. Most likely the market's paying attention over here towards that top. And look, you could see that's the support over there. You could see the market touched it at that resistance. You could see the support also over there. So just a heads up. On the way down, it's the bottom of the candles. On the way up, it's the top. Very important lesson over here. So which brings us to where we are right now, right? Is this an entry right now on the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar? And it is all day long. So you could keep this line that you have over here that was the support because it's still a line. It doesn't go away, right? And you can see the entry occurs below it. That's a good indication. But also over here, I just borrow this line and move it down over there. I also know that was an area of resistance that the market was paying attention to, right? That's where we peaked up. We're rejected off of it. We're also, the entry comes below that line over there. So that's a trade right there. All right. Greg is adding to this, wondering the downward trend line from the highs. So is this what you're focusing on? So, but I mean, I'd want to kind of just move that out a little bit to like those top touches over there. And you could actually see that's a little bit cleaner over there. So am I wrong on that? Should I be like, all right, so yeah, I mean, first of all, yes, that's a really good line, because if we break above here, by the way, outside that trend line and above that little bit of resistance, that sets off a clear long entry, because you're in an uptrend, right? Y'all see you're in an uptrend, right? So that I like that line. But did you see my like trying to get the angle of that line, which is not clear for me? So when it's not clear, what I try to do is just give it a little bit of room, right? Like instead of trying to be so exact, I would kind of go like this and just push it away. And then not only that, I would focus on that resistance getting above that, and then really flipping that into support. You want to be safe. But that's a very important line to have in there. Thanks, Greg. I like that. Yeah. Calling it to the downside. Oh, hold on one second. Pause. Yes. When I have trouble, by the way, finding the angle of the line, that's great, Greg. I like to go and look at the downside, right? Because if I could get, like, that line looks clearer to me. Let's try this. I'm going to clone this one. Bring that back up. That's not lining up. So I don't know, you know? And guess what? I don't have to know. How do you like that? I don't have, is that a, no? A mild, you know, is that, because I have that touch, and you see it broke down, but that was the touch into resist. Is that like kind of a descending wedge? I don't know. I don't know all of that, and I'm comfortable with not knowing always. So what I could just do is focus simply on this. Keep it simple. When I don't know, I revert back to one of my greatest edges, is that just take something so complex. If you start getting caught up in like conflicting this, conflicting that, it's a very difficult situation to be in. So instead, what I do is I keep it simple. I'm going to keep it simple, but I do like that trend line. I like the lower highs. 1, 2, 3, 4 lower highs. And then I have that where the market just paid attention to that little bit of resistance. If we get above it, then I'm looking actually for a buy. I'm in an uptrend. I'll be looking to buy. Right now, that's a rejection. Is that an opportunity you want to take? Maybe. Thank you, brother. Thank you, both of you. And keep it simple. If you're new here, welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us. Do subscribe to the channel. Again, this is the great place to be. Euro, Australian dollar. So I will go right to the Australian dollar, but I know someone first asked for the pound Japanese yen. So I'm just looking at this. This is what we were looking at yesterday. I was very clear yesterday that there's nothing going on here. This is sideways, and we're still are sideways. So I'm just going to move on. Like if there's nothing going on, I'm not going to force something. On pound Japanese yen, are you seeing that support hold? And would you buy a resumption off of in that range? I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't. I would get excited maybe buying above here. You know, either back above that trend line, which might be resistance, or definitely back above here. Would I want to buy above 130? By the way, when I was just talking about, you know, I'm going to move that line up. I'm moving that line up. This is where the market just paid attention to. I see that was support over there, right? And even right there was in play. So above there, would I get interested in? Maybe, but here, no. Right now it's sideways. Euro, Australian dollar. Yeah, this looks great, by the way. So so first of all, if anyone, so let me just back up. This was a sideways consolidation. This was going on for months. That's on. Let me go to the daily time frame with you. You could see this was going on since June all the way to now, end of October. Consolidation, staying away while I was in that range. That's why I had that blue box. And then waiting for the breakout. We had a breakout. So listen, I want to show you. People could still be in this trade, or people could be entering this trade this morning. Anyone who took this entry right here, that was a good entry, conquering the markets all day long. By the way, do you take the first, resumption, or do you wait for a later resumption? Very simple. I always take the first resumption because I don't know if you're going to see like the first resumption go like take off, or if you're going to see like the first resumption and then still consolidation, second resumption, third resumption, and then the fourth takeoff. I never know. I cannot see the future. I don't know, but I do know when entering this trade, I know where my stop loss is, right? Where if I'm wrong on the trade, that I just want to get out of that trade. I base my position size off of that distance, right? Going into just a little bit of resistance right there, it's already a greater 1-to-1 risk reward. So whether you're taking this trade this morning, which is giving an entry again this morning, or you took the trade a couple of sessions ago, it's still the same stop loss and you're still in the same trade. So Australian dollar, US dollar is giving a signal here as well. We do have a major event coming up that could light up gold, and then gold and silver. So gold, by the way, would be major event would be U.S. elections, contested election. That could be a major risk event for a bid in gold, safe haven. Silver and gold, regardless of what happens. And again, if we get a Biden win with a Republican Senate, you might see the initial market reaction as a sell-off, thinking that the government is not going to add any stimulus. But the result of that sell-off will be the Fed adding that stimulus. All right? So, we got 10,000. Great. Anyone who's here right now, glad you're here. That's all. It's not a numbers game. It's a quality game. Thank you, brother. Kips, we never looked at your cotton. Let's take a look. Right? I'm going to go to... Oh, my goodness. Kips the commodity. So what's going on, though? I'm looking at this, right, from a different perspective. And let's start working in our resistance, right? Right? What else can we add? Let's just start adding things. So where do you put that support, by the way? I'm focusing here on this resistance, but then you see the market was down lower over here, right? So that's a tough one. I'm going to go with the lower one over here. All right. So what else do we see? Let's look at a different time frame. Let's look at the daily time frame over here. So, we'll look at this support, now big resistance. Getting above there will set up another leg up, and right now I think we're back into an area over here of consolidation and congestion, right? I don't know. I would be surprised if we had a red sweep. That would be, I don't know how I have no idea. This is a good question, Wes. That's a good question. I'm here too, Jordan. Just quit learning and talking less. Rex, brother, glad to see you. Really happy to see you here. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, of course. Let's take a look at it. By the way, if I don't see a comment, I'm not ignoring you. I'm focused in on the charts and discussing whatever we're discussing. Just everyone understand that if I don't see a comment, I'm not ignoring you by any means. So I noticed yesterday, right, the New Zealand dollar, and before I look at the US dollar, I just want to point this out, right? This is what let me go to the 8 hour. Like I noticed that we were breaking out over here, right? You see that over there, the breakout, retest, resuming off right now. And I noticed yesterday that the New Zealand dollar was actually stronger than almost everything else. Here you can see also another breakout attempt going on, right? And the New Zealand dollar, US dollar is definitely bid here. But you know, when it comes to a dollar pair right now, and I'll go back to the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, I'm like neutral on the US dollar because we are sideways, right? I have a bearish bias, but I'm trying to avoid the dollar because it is sideways until I get an indication. And you'll remember, like we were crushing on the dollar, but now it's not. And I try to avoid sideways markets. And also on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, right? Like getting back above here, then yeah, I would be looking for more action. That would also mean the DXY is breaking down to new yearly lows. That would be exciting. Right now, though, like because the US dollar is kind of range bound, and not only that, I also know that we're coming up into a possible risk event, the US election, and that it's possible that could put a bid into the dollar. Now, I have a feeling gold would be a better safe haven than the dollar in that situation, only because it involves the US, right? So, I think that New Zealand dollar is a pair to be focusing on right now, but I think on the Japanese yen is a better trade. And I think also on the Swiss franc here is maybe even a better trade. Now, also, this little line I have over here, you could clone that up and you could see that we still have a little bit of work to do. So really to play it safe, and you know what? It's always better playing it safe. It's always more profitable playing it safe than looking for that, like, if you have that mentality like if this happens and if I get in now, I'm getting in at a better price. Well, a better price is one that's actually going to work out with a higher probability. But getting back above this resistance, that might be the place to really look for it. And the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, that looks good right here, resuming off. And at the same time, well, yeah, I mean, you have a pretty good risk reward coming right into that nice resistance level. Boom, 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 boom. No, I have no idea. So when I look at the euro US dollar and I see that it's consolidating, right? And so number one, I'm like, all right, well, I'm just on the sideline. And I know one of two things will ultimately happen, right? Either it breaks out above here. By the way, the ECB is meeting this week. By the way, when you're looking at the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, do know that you do have a high impact news event today on that pair. That doesn't mean don't take a technical signal. Okay. Now, you also have the ECB on Thursday. What does that mean? Well, it's possible they surprise the market and act. This is a live meeting. And how the currency reacts is a whole different story. But that could be also very, very net positive for gold, right? That would be very positive for gold. It's not just what the Fed does. You also have other central banks. And if not in December, they also might act. Now, I know that I'm in a range. And right here, instead of me thinking, is like trying to decide if this is going up or down, well, I do know this isn't a huge uptrend all year, right? And a consolidation after a leg up generally leads to another leg up. But at the same time, if we break down above that support, right, I then going to be watching this blue line over here. That blue line is that 12-year trend line, right? And a break below that. Then if we broke below it, then I'm looking for a bigger move back down into that area over here. Also that 12-year trend line. That's a big move that I want to catch. But, well, I don't know which way it's going to go, So I'm not trying to, I'd rather be an observer. And then when something happens that gives a signal, then take the signal rather than trying to be like, well, I think this is going to happen, because that clouds my decision-making process. And right here, all as I know is that we're sideways. Well, you could do that, Kaya, there's a couple of different training sessions going over stop loss placement. They're one of the first 5 on the Conquering the Markets recommended playlist, and you could do that, but what I noticed though, so I put a stop loss where I know I'm wrong. For example, go to gold. Well, look, talking about the Euro Australian dollar, which I'm doing right now, I'm going to first point out a real time example on gold, right? I put my stop loss where I know I'm wrong, right? And I know I'm wrong here if we break this trend line and break that support. And I'm not just looking for like, someone was talking about yesterday getting stopped out by 1 pip. I'm not like looking, just like I give it a little bit of room, right? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Then I want out of the trade. Now, if you were to go ahead and enter this trade, for example, and then put your stop loss at the low of the bar, well, you just got stopped out, right? And then maybe you take another trade and put it down there. But I'd rather not go through all that little bit of chop, because I don't know that I'm wrong if either of that thing. I put a stop, instead of putting my stop loss so tight, I put it in a smart place. Now, there are occasions for certain trades where definitely I'm looking to place it at the low of the entry bar. But, you know, when we talked about this trade on the live stream and I looked for the last swing low, right? And then I was like, I'd place it right there under it. So do know it's definitely a well, I don't want to say beginner mistake, but it's definitely a common mistake to trade with stop losses that are too tight. So, and also, yeah, nothing else to say. It's definitely a mistake to trade with stop losses that are too tight. Yes, of course. Of course. Yeah, of course. But again, if you're trading higher position size with a tighter stop loss and your win percentage is therefore lower, that's not better than trading with a smaller position size and having a higher win ratio at all. Yeah, I mean, this is better articulated than myself. Like, too tight stop losses are a great way to keep losing money. And the person who doesn't have a strategy will then say to themselves, all right, well, I could just do that with the adverse with a really tight take profit, right? Yeah, you could do that, and then you could have like a 90% win ratio, and then that one trade will wipe out your account. So that's not a strategy. What's going on, BG investor? What's going on? No, we don't. No, 2% is way too much to risk on a trade. Way too much to risk on a trade. Way too much to risk on a trade. Trading is all about risk management. Take the course. That's right. I don't think I'm the loudest person to sound that, but one of the loudest persons to have sound that, right? 100%. And I held strong during the worst portions of this past year in Bitcoin. No question about that. Chain, definitely. James, it depends on where you live in the world, what options you have available to you. And wherever you live in the world, there are many options. So you could just, in a search engine, you could put out, wherever you live, trading commodities. Loud and proud. I try not. So yeah, that's a fine line I have to walk. Let me try and get back over here. There we go. So, average true range, but before I just reverted 100% to support and resistance, I used to use average true range for stop loss and take profits. It's a good one. That's awesome. Thank you. Glad to be. This is a good session. 422 likes is a lot for an hour in. I'm glad for that. Carlos, if you're not yet a consistently profitable trader, a 0.5% per trade. If you're using more than that, you're wrong. Nope. Yes, Logan, we do. Every week we have a private conquering the markets trading lessons. If you're not a member of the group, there's in the description below is my course, which gives a clear working strategy as well as you plug in to the whole community. Look, there's not money better spent. You know, I've spent, you know, in my early career tons of money on information and books. Nothing even is in the same realm, and for a fraction of the price. 455 likes. I like that. September 24th. Oh yeah. Oh, Rich, next year. Forward thinking. I like that time preference. That's right. That's right. I'm looking forward to that moment. I'm looking forward to when we get to change the conversation, when we're all talking about why we're exiting, where we're exiting, why we're exiting, when we're exiting, what we are allocating into as we exit. And by the way, right now, and forget even the conversation after that, when we're looking to reaccumulate back in and look, playing the cycle once, you know, positioned in now, positioning out at the top, positioning in again, and then out again. I mean, that you're talking about, even if you're starting with a small sum of money, being able to create a significant amount of money. It's an opportunity. I mean, this morning I woke up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm sitting, and all I could think about is I can't believe my brothers would not listen to me. This, you know, when I sincerely tried to get them to buy Bitcoin. They like the public markets. They're over leveraged into their public markets, into their personal trading accounts and their 401ks. You know, it's, you know, so I'll have mixed feelings as well, because I always want to bring everyone with me. Yeah, of course. I'm open to everything, right? So I was never really looking at January. I was looking at maximum December 21. But it looks to me, or it appears to me, it's going to be sooner than that, a couple of months sooner than that, you know. But we're, again, I don't need to talk about it now. In yesterday's video, I was showing some different signals I'll be looking. I don't think I'm going to get out at the top, by the way. If I could get out within 25% of the top, I think I'm a hero. So yeah, the West, that's not like, you know, you want to share in that with everyone. That's why we have each other. Monero's a beast. Monero has this amazing use case here of privacy, right? And look, I draw my lines with Liberty always, just to give me the idea. But just like let's talk about this. Let's say you get a breakout. Oh no, by the way, into the first resistance right over here, the pullback, right? It's, again, that's what you're looking for. The retest doesn't have to come in all the way down to the broken level. The retest is when you, and look at that, it's testing local support, resumption off. Monero is just breaking out here for a new leg up. So, and also everyone knows, right, when you're inside a continuation pattern, such as our flags over there, you could be looking to buy off of the support touch of the flag, preemptive of looking to break out to the upside, because it's a good risk reward trade over there. Would you tell them to get out of? No, I would tell them in their, you know, GBTC is a good option if you're stuck inside the public markets. But I don't advise anyone what to do with on their retirement accounts whatsoever. But, you know, whatsoever, you know. But if you're already heavily leveraged into the public markets through your retirement accounts, do I think it's a good idea to put all of your personal investments as well into there? You know, I don't know what block fees are whatsoever. Nor what's the best. I don't know what the best way to accumulate small amounts of Bitcoin is either. No, I'll be selling all at once. That's a good question. I just saw it. I'll be selling all at once. I'll be talking about it as it's all happening. But more importantly, I'll also be talking about what's going on as we look, excuse me, about where are places that on the upside I'll be looking to take profits. Because I will, anyway, I don't want to confuse anyone right now. I don't want to confuse anyone right now. Let me wait until I put out and publish the video on what I perceive to be the best way to trade Bitcoin during the bull market phase, you know, as far as holding it, if you should take profits, if you were doing that, what are the pros and cons of that? And by the way, if you're not sure, the best thing to do is just completely hold through the cycle. Are we in a channel on gold? If you place a trend line on the low of March, and then the highs of October, I mean, I wouldn't ever put a trend line from the low to a high. Trend lines always go from a low to a low. So like, for example, I guess this is like a TA lesson today. You could have a trend line here, and I have one right here, right? Touching the low, right? Touching the low. Break, that was our first sign. Parabolic move over. I have that trend line there, if you look at it, right? Now, I could also put a trend line like this, right? From the low. Oh, let me make that brighter. I can't see what I'm working with, right? And then there's no other trend line there for me to put, and I wouldn't put one like this. I guess if you're looking like this, would I put a trend line from the low to the highs over there? No, I would need another touch somewhere over here, because trend lines go from low to low, not from a low to a high over there. Now, with that being said, could you be like, is there a trend line over here from these highs, right? Is that a trend line? Maybe, but I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about that resistance over there. All right, do you guys want to look at FX? Do you want to go blow through all these pairs over here together? Does anyone have the time? So there's the 4-year cycle start at the 2000. No, the 4-year cycle is around the halvings. The halvings are the halving events are the starts of the 4-year cycle. All right, Shane, it's me and you. Let's do it. So by the way, really quick, it's an art. You know, TA is an art. This is how I express my art. I have covered this with all of you like multiple times. I'll do it again really quick. Oh, I don't want to clone that. I was looking at this. This is what I was looking at in real time, like this. I had this trend line over here, this like this. That was my trend line. And then when we broke out, I was looking for a retest, which we never got, right? Actually, as soon as we broke out, it's on the live streams. As soon as we broke out, I went ahead and I put in this trend line over here. Oh. Sorry, I don't want to mess up my lines as I show you this. I put that line in from that line. I cloned this line, and I just touched that top line. Before this touched into there, I had that line there, and then it touched into there. And I then said, okay, that's my new trend line. I need to break out above before I look to re-enter again. This was the breakout, and this was my first entry right over here, right? That's the way I'm approaching it. If someone else is doing it differently, they can. I felt that when I saw some people doing this, like a trend line over here connecting like this, right? I don't have that line there, nor do I want to put that line there, because in my opinion, once I put this line over here and then we touched there and that was resistance, for me, that was confirmation that the market's paying attention to what I'm paying attention to, right? And so there's no other lines that I want to put in. All right. I've never used plus 500, so I don't know. But I'm going to right now, I'm not going to be paying attention to comments. I'm going to go through FX. I'm going to see what's going on, right? I've already talked about this possible trade over here on the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. It's the first trade, so I'm going to start there, right? So what do I see over here on the Australian dollar, Swiss franc? Not a lot, but I do want to say this was when Greg talked about that trend line on the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, this one. Like, I also see that happening here on the Australian dollar. Like, and again, I'm just going to give you a rough line. I'm not touching any points. I'm giving you broad strokes. And if I tried to, it would be more down over here. It would be right there that I put that first trend line, right? And then I would clone it and put it up there. But I don't want to do that because I'm not looking for a trade. I'm just looking for some type of guidance, right? Australia, by the way, big high impact news event today out of Australia. So, and the reason I have this here right now is just like I've seen, this isn't an uptrend, but we've seen this downtrend for us swing traders. We've been in this downtrend. That was a breakdown, resumption, retest. There's nothing going on right now. I'm in no man's land, right? But if we break out back to the upside, that's going to say, all right, now it's time to start playing long on the Australian dollar. It probably wouldn't be on the Australian dollar Swiss franc. It would probably be on the Australian dollar something else. But nevertheless, all right, what's going on over here? This is if we break above this range, right? I see, just glancing at this chart, Australian dollar, Japanese yen, right? There's this guy, you guys probably, I think his name is something Maryvan. In the equity markets, I think he runs the site. It's called somethingville. Maryvan, somethingville. He was talking about yesterday the amount of charts he looks over a day, which was a lot more than I look at. I thought I look at a lot of charts. He looks at a lot more than I do. I think he says 90 charts a day he looks at. But talked about the same thing I do, is that's your greatest edge in chaining. The more time you spend going through your analysis. Anyway, so we're consolidating. We're in no man's land. There's nothing going on. That's as important as finding something is going on. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Let me take a step back. I see this support levels being broken out, breaking down. Okay, but I also see that also another Australian dollar pair, and I also see like this other trend line over here. Now again, if I wanted to draw it exact, it would probably be from here to here, right? Like more along the lines from there, and then I'd want to go like this. So that's the angle I'm going to use. So I'm waiting to see when the Australian dollar comes back to life. If it does, now Kips has been telling everyone for the past couple of weeks that he's become bearish on the Australian dollar, and look, he's riding that trend down. These are like parabolic trend lines, right, to the downside, and as long as you're below that, you're looking for downside continuation. But I am looking for when I would see a reversal in the Australian dollar, and that's like using all these pairs together to give me some type of clarity. So do I see it also here? I don't need it here. I'm not going to put it on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, but on the rest of those pairs, it's there, which brings me to what? Sideways. Do you see this is sideways? Just like the DXY. So do you see that until the DXY gives us the next indication of its next direction? And I'm not trying to guess what that direction is. I know it's sideways. I know it's sideways. I could get rid of this now. I know it's sideways, so I'm avoiding that. Crosses are more attractive. I'm going to keep going in order. I'm going to go through all the pairs. New Zealand dollar is not down to here, but I want to do all the FX pairs right now. So thank you for your patience. And if you're enjoying it and you're here, do hit the thumbs up. Euro sideways. That's guessing. We don't guess. So Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. No, nothing going on today, but we did call this out together, right? Breakdown, retest, and you can see the resumption off. Just conquering the markets all day long, nothing going on there. And as I look around the markets, I'm kind of getting that feeling that there's not too much going on. Let's see if that changes. No, Swiss franc, Japanese yen. Still no man's land. If you're holding this trade, which we all looked at on the live stream, setting that up very well together, now you're moving your stop loss. Now you're moving your stop loss. Again, locking in profit, just doing a dance. So Euro, Australian dollar, we also looked at this one. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, 2 Australian dollar pairs giving potential entries over there. That's it. Sideways, Euro, Canadian dollar, sideways. No man's land. Do you see a possible channel? I do. That's probably something we want to put in over there. A breakdown out of there. That could give a nice signal. Euro, Swiss franc. So interesting that we have come back into this bear flag over here, right? I was looking at this as a lesson. Then yesterday I went from green light to yellow light. It's just really noisy for me. Should you be trading this off a higher time frame? Maybe, but probably better not to trade it. It is a Swiss franc pair, right? Outside of a crisis, I tend to avoid them. Euro, British pound. I mean, look, I don't see anything going on that's clear whatsoever. And I have to say, like, from a logical standpoint, that makes a lot of sense with what's going on next week. Right? Markets look like they're entering a holding pattern. It doesn't mean that's going to hold. So we're watching to see if we get any type of break before then. But right now, as I'm going halfway through all these pairs, I see nothing. I see nothing. So, all I could add, though, is, and we have the ECB meeting this week, I am seeing that going on right now on the Euro Japanese yen. We'll keep tracking it. Euro New Zealand dollar. No, the Euro's been fantastic this year. For a while, we crushed the Euro this year, but it's in no man's land right now. Ever since the first week of August, after massive moves all through July, not just on the dollar, but also and the Euro was strong against the dollar. Also during the Japanese yen during that time period, but then since it's moved to consolidation, the markets flow from expansion to consolidation to expansion to consolidation. The Euro right now is consolidating. The dollar is consolidating. Both of them coming off of massive moves this year. So what's the next phase? Well, we're going to go into an expansion phase again. Whether that's up or down, well, that's just a guess right now. What's going on over here? We'll look at this. This is as clear as could be. Breakdown, retest, boom, resumption down, conquering the markets all day long. Beautiful. Euro, right? No man's land, consolidating, right? Wait for the range to be broken before getting involved. Pound, Australian dollar, pound pairs, back into the false break, back into the range. Nothing going on. Nothing going on. If there's nothing going on, don't take your trades. Pound, Canadian dollar, nothing going on. Go ahead and take your trades if there's nothing going on. If there's nothing going on, please, by all means, take as many trades as you want and continue to be a loser, because you're a loser if you do that. There's no doubt about it. Pound, Swiss franc. Again, same thing. Nothing going on. Go ahead and force your trades. Nothing going on. Yeah, that's right. That's definitely, we need that. Jesse, if you're here, conquering the markets all day long. That's the catchphrase over there. Pound New Zealand dollar down towards an important support over here. It's a big range. A resumption off of there. Is that forcing a trade? Pound US dollar. There's nothing going on all across the markets, with the exception of entry on Australian dollar, Canadian dollar right now this session, and the open trade on the Euro Australian dollar. Open trade on gold, and we all know that we've been brutally playing with Bitcoin, right? So that's, by the way, the US dollar Swiss franc if we get a leg down on the dollar, this could lead. If we break down over here, that's something we want to be involved in. This trend line, is this appropriate to move over here? Like, so forget this. Forget this. I'm going to remove this now. Just focus on this. Forget this. Focus on this, right? If we get that breakout over here, at that point, could you play long the US dollar, Swiss franc? Would that be the stronger currency to play? Probably not, right? Would it be, look at the euro. If you look at the euro US dollar, hold on. They're close. All right, so I take that back. They're close. There's really no advantage one over the other. So that's it. You know, silver is one of the clearest trades going on right now. And that it's one of the clearest things going on right now. And that has been for weeks, where I said until we break outside of that triangle, there's nothing going on. And like, we are just between there. Getting close to the breakout or breakdown, we're getting close to a resolution. But it's clear in that you should not be in that trade whatsoever. Thank you, Danielle. I think it was absolutely amazing. I love this quote, by the way. If you want to change the world, spend some time with your kids. Actually, it's one of my favorite quotes by Pope Francis as well. And he said, as a parent, your job should just simply to be, quote unquote, with waste time with kids. That's mine and my wife's philosophy. We just spend as much time as we can with our kids. You just have to be there. We checked the euro Australian dollar, right? If we spent a lot of time with it, and the euro Australian dollar is giving a buy signal over here. It gave one last week. It's giving another one over here. Whether you entered here or here, you should still be in the trade. Right? Euro Australian dollar, we looked at it a couple of times. And like, this is the signal, the breakout of this consolidation range. Breakout, looking for that back into the support. I look the entry right there. Stop loss down over here. Another resumption over here. It's another possible entry. Same stop loss. Good session, everyone. Kids are the future. Yeah. What country I'm from is absolutely irrelevant to what's happening on the charts. We're focused on what's happening on charts. We're focused in on the markets, right? That's where we're at, everyone. Good session, everyone. Conquering the markets. I'm not sure. I'll put out email later today for this week's training session, which I'm leaning towards Thursday. And then we'll figure out the time together. I'll send that email out definitely later today. Thanks for spending the time, Jason. Absolutely. I appreciate all of you. And thanks for being here with me. I thought it was a great session. I give it a thumbs up. And Taco Tuesday, nothing going on in FX. That's a strong signal. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for spending the time. God bless you. And I'll talk to you later.
All right, everyone. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.